Raise.
Yeah.
I'd like to begin this meeting. We won't call the meeting to order quite yet, but we will begin the meeting, and we will ask the Honorable Judge Bennett to please come forward and do 3 swearing-ins. Yeah. Do you need us in front there, or just stand here? Doesn't matter.
Probably right out front,
Okay.
yeah. So Amy can get a nice pic. I'm getting out of this.
Sure. We can go at once.
Your Honor. So formal.
Can do it all at once.
That's okay.
You know, it's interesting for me to come here and swear Mike in when most of the day I swear at him.
Did you get that for the record?
Could he use the microphone?
Well, that's good.
Amy?
To you guys.
Should he use the microphone?
You want me to?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'd ask each of you to raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as board member of the Board of Education for the Elyria City School District.
as board
Elyria City School District, Lorraine County, Ohio. To the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance
and in accordance
with the laws
with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter to be enacted
and hereafter to be enacted
during my continuance
during my continuance
in said office
in said office
until my successor
until my successor
is elected and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Judge. That long one threw me for a loop there.
I realized I can only do 3 words.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
That's funny.
Okay. Thank you, Judge Bennett. Now I'd like to officially call this meeting, this organization meeting, to order. And then we will have Madam Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Bax?
Here.
Ms. Karstafen?
Here.
Mr. Elick?
Here.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Here.
And Mrs. Seguin?
Here.
Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the January 8th organization and board meeting for the Elyria School District. So we've had the swearing in, and we'd like to take this time and welcome our newest board member, Elaine Sequin. She is going to be obviously joining us for this new term, and we're very excited to have her with us. Now we'd like to actually go into, official business, as this is the organization meeting, and I would like to ask for a nomination for the office of president. Do I have a nomination?
I would like to nominate Greg Elick for president.
We have a nomination. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Board Member Gebhardt and a nomination by Board Member Karstafen. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mrs. Seguin? Sorry, Mrs. Seguin? And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Next, do I have a nomination for the office of Vice President?
Yes, I would like to nominate Ms. Ann Karstafen for the office of Vice President.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. I have a motion by Board Member Bax. I have a second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Elick?
Aye.
And Mrs. Segwin.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we have a president, vice president, and now we'd like to do the assumption of the chair. So I'm going to ask everybody to get up and switch chairs here real quick. And
Okay.
just kidding. Okay. All right, moving along
I
here.
believe you.
Everybody stays the same.
All right. So since nobody's moving, we'll continue on with
Does
our
that say
business.
Brubaker? No, that's.
And our first item of order is to adopt Robert's Rules of Order so that in order for the Elyria Board of Education meeting to be orderly and well-managed, the Elyria Board of Education annually adopts Robert's Rules of Orders. Robert's Rule of Orders will serve as the guidelines for all board meetings, whether they are work sessions, business meetings, or special meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick.
Aye, motion carries. Next on the organization list is the appointment of the Lorraine County Joint Vocational School District Rep. And I'd like to approve the resolution to appoint Annie Karstoffen as our board member to Lorraine County Joint Vocational School as detailed below. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Board Member Sequin. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, now we have a few items in a row here where we will ask for a motion at the end. First item is to establish regular meeting dates on the first and the third Wednesday of the month, except where noted unless changed by the formal action of the board on enclosure F5. To approve the resolution to authorize the superintendent or designee to approve agreements with universities and colleges to place student teachers and field experienced students in the Elyria School District. The reading of the minutes, to approve the resolution to waive the reading of the minutes during the meetings. The next one is to authorize the treasurer to establish a board service fund in the general fund in the amount of $10,000. The next one is to approve the appointment of the following law firms to represent the Elyria Board of Education and its administration in matters deemed appropriate for legal services during the calendar year 2020. And to appoint the treasurer as the board's designee for public records training on behalf of all board members in accordance with ORC 109.43B and 149.43E1. And then to approve the assignment of the board members to the following committees as listed below. So there are items 5 through 11. I'd like to get a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Board Member Karstoffen. Any questions or comments? Better look at them, make sure before.
Yeah, before I make sure you stuck me on something.
Not sure about that
Pretty
one.
much.
Which one?
Okay.
The first one.
The first one.
All right. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Madam Treasurer, do we have anybody signed up for visitor comments?
No.
Okay, with none, we'll move along to I, the meeting minutes. The minutes from the December 11, 2019 meeting were posted. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Board Member Bax. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick.
Aye, motion carries. Madam Treasurer, do you have action items for us today?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. President. My first item is the standard mileage rate. To approve the standard mileage rate for calendar year 2020 as established by the IRS. Number 2 is to authorize me to seek advances during the 2020 calendar year from the Lorain County Auditor as they become available. Number 3 is to approve the resolution to authorize the treasurer or designee to act as agent of the Board of Education to file and sign real estate tax complaints. And number 4 is to acknowledge, express appreciation, and accept the gifts as listed in your agenda. Number 5 is to approve the OSBA services agreement and the service addendum. And those are my items this evening.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the treasurer action items as stated?
Move to approve.
A motion by Board Member Bax. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments?
I just,
Go ahead.
I just have a question for clarification. For the approval of resolution to authorize the treasurer to, or designee to act as an agent for the Board of Education to file for the real estate tax complaint, I'm not sure, are you referring to tax complaint that would be going to the Board of Revision?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify, I didn't know. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
What is the mileage rate? The new one?
Right now, I believe it's 58 cents. As of January
It's-
1st, it dropped to, I believe, 57 and a half.
Yeah,
Oh, it went
57
down.
point, it went down.
It went down.
Okay.
Any other questions? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Treasurer, your treasurer other items this evening.
Yes, my first item is to return the advance funds to the general fund as listed in your agenda. And if you'll recall, these are the advances that we made prior to June 30th. We're just returning the money to the general fund.
Okay. And we need a separate motion on this?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the advance of the general funds to the following programs as listed by the treasurer?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstafen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Bax. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Segwin? Sorry about that. And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, other items this evening, Madam Treasurer.
My next item is to approve the tax budget. It's in front of you, and I would like to go across that, just make a few comments before I ask for your approval.
Okay.
The tax budget is required by ORC. Each county has the ability to set up a reporting format that meets their needs, and this is the Lorain County format. It starts with an estimated cash balance. That estimate is as of July 1st, 2020, and then it adds estimated taxes to be received, estimated state foundation, and any other miscellaneous receipts, and then deducts the estimated expenditures, and these are all for fiscal '21. These numbers do align with the 5-year forecast as far as the general fund goes. The purpose of the tax budget is to start the whole budgetary cycle for fiscal year '21. It sets the tax rates, it provides the basis for and shows the need for the collection of the taxes. Again, this is for the fiscal year '21, which begins July 1st of 2020 and goes through June 30th of 2021. It's a little bit complicated, mostly because the tax budget is on a calendar year and our fiscal budget is on fiscal year. Our year starts July 1st, tax collection is January through December. Not all the funds receive tax dollars. The ones that do are the general fund. It receives about $32.5 million. Debt service fund is $5.5 million. And then capital projects, which is the taxes that are collected there, are the taxes from the half mil that, for the OFCC maintenance that we passed. No other funds receive tax dollars. The district's fiscal year 21 tax budget has a total revenue of about $109 million, plus the beginning July 1st balance of $36 million, for total resources of approximately $145 million. We expect to receive $38.5 million in taxes in fiscal year 21. As stated before, the tax budget gets the ball rolling as far as the whole entire budgetary process for fiscal 21. We receive the official certificate of estimated resources usually in March. And those are my comments. You've had the actual budget to review. If you've got any questions, I'll take those now.
Are there any major changes with this compared to last year?
No.
No, pretty much not. Okay. All right. Okay, any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay, with none, do I have a motion to approve the tax estimates?
I will make that motion.
So I have a motion by Board Member Bax. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Sequin. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mrs. Seguin?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Any other reports this evening, Madam Treasurer?
That is all I have this evening.
Okay, great, thank you. And Madam Superintendent, do you have action items for us today?
I certainly do, thank you. First of all, to approve the officers for the 2020 in Elyria City School Endowment Board. We do this every year, and I just want to, in advance, thank them for their service. They do a lot for the district and the teachers. The President, Joel Siniger, Vice President, Chad Schneider, Secretary, Leanne Latea, and Treasurer, Mr. Bax. So thank you. Also, to approve the OSBA service agreement for 2020, to approve the payment of stipends as listed below out of the School Quality Improvement Grant, to approve, we have a couple out-of-state field trips, both going to Detroit, our 7th graders from Westwood and Northwood, to approve the robotics team has been invited to go to the signature Night at the Museum at the Smithsonian, or Aerospace Museum, I believe. They're competing there, so approve that field trip. Also to approve the choir and orchestra students to go to Chicago over spring break. And this is a revised placement agreement. We had to add some additional information with the agreement of the achievement centers. And that concludes my action items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent action items?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Karstoffen. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mrs. Seguin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Superintendent, do you have personnel action items for us this evening?
Yes, I do. First of all, to approve the appointment of the following certified staff members. Glad to say we are starting to see some new substitute teachers signing up. Also to approve the athletic supplemental contracts as listed below. To approve the appointment of the following EHS student workers in the Performing Arts Center. To approve the appointment of the following classified staff members, also some new subs there. And that concludes my personnel items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the personnel action items as recommended by the superintendent?
I will make that motion.
I have a
Thank you.
motion by Board Member Bax. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Board Member Karstoffen. Questions? Where are we at with subs? What's our, where are we at right now?
We're at 78.
78? Oh, boy.
We have 4 more interviews or subs coming in this week as well on top
And what's the number we like to be around?
We used to sit around 150. 125 is a little more comfortable. In our superintendent's meetings for Lorraine County, this is a problem we're really seeing across the board. We are not seeing as many youngsters going into education, which is, as soon as someone graduates, we, as you will see tonight, we get them and sign them up for vacancies. But it is definitely, there is a shortage.
Okay.
But we are advertising and have been putting it out on social media, so.
And our pay is right in line too, I'm assuming,
It's
right?
highest in the county,
Highest in the county? Okay,
so.
wow.
We're doing everything we can. I will say Jamie has contacted all the area universities also to have personal contact with them to get the December grads signed up and going.
Okay. Well,
I
please.
have an attorney I work with that he wants to get out of being an attorney and be a substitute until he can get his degree or his certification.
That's
So,
wonderful.
Well, that's wonderful. All right. Well, maybe this is an area that Jamie and Superintendent can keep us posted on.
Sure.
It's very concerning that our numbers are, boy, half of what it used to be.
Yeah.
So, very concerning area. Okay, any other questions or comments?
None.
With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Superintendent, do you have a superintendent report for us this evening?
I do, but first I'd like to introduce
yes.
Natalie Swift. She is our new intervention specialist at Prospect, and she just graduated. I believe you student taught at Windsor.
Oh, wow.
So welcome.
Welcome aboard, Natalie.
That's my report.
Outstanding. Welcome to the Pioneer family.
Yes, and as far as superintendent's report, first of all, this Friday is the high school and Saturday the middle school Pioneer Classic Robotics Tournament. If you would like to come out, I think Mrs. Blatt is trying her hand at emceeing Friday night, so that should be most
nice.
entertaining.
That's Saturday?
Yeah, Friday and Saturday. Yeah, that's, also, just as we're moving in our work with the Schlechte Center, yesterday we had 65 stakeholders around the table. Students, we had 10 students from the high school, we had some parents and administrators and teachers there. We're working on belief statements to bring to the board for
good.
approval. So it was a great work Natalie put together and working with Dr. Anissa Rollin from the Schlechte Center. So we are moving forward with that and had some wonderful feedback from the community. Also, wanted to give you an update on the McKinley building. Since it was in the news, let everyone know that West Roofing was out and they fixed the problem, and they feel that they have a good solution. Mr. Kokai, am I correct in saying we're good to go?
I believe so. I haven't heard a report from when AVG went out to double check at
Okay.
3 p.m. today, but I'm assuming that everything's fine.
Okay.
We'll be able to reopen door E.
Right.
Good.
So, I'd like to thank the whole maintenance staff and operations department. They moved quickly, and Mrs. Gatton for also making sure the kiddos were safe. Also on, I believe it's the 19th, or am I saying the 20th of January? 20th, thank you. The MLK parade and ceremony at the PAC at 11 a.m. I believe the parade starts at 10:30 at City Hall.
Yes.
And I would like to say it's kind of a special one. LaTanya Conley has been in charge of that for the last 30 years, and she is retiring from that duty. So we've worked for a long time with LaTanya, and it'll be a special one, I'm sure, for her. So we'd like as many people that could come to that. That's always a great event.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is
Great.
it.
Super. Thank you very much, Madam Superintendent. Okay, moving along on the agenda, Board of Education. Any items from our board members for the good of the cause? Anyone have anything they'd like to report on
Yes.
this evening?
Would I ever disappoint you?
Okay, board member Bax.
Okay. Also wanted to make people aware, especially for the high school students, that the Rotary four-way test competition will be held on February 11th. And that is, I believe first prize is $300. First place is $300, and I think second is $200, and third place is $100. But I believe you, Tim, you have details on that in the office at the high school, so like to see that. We always enjoy that competition at Rotary, and we'd certainly like to have some students participate in that. That'd be good.
Great. Thank you,
Good.
board member Bax. Any other items here? Okay, with none, we'd like to wrap up today and request an executive session for the purpose of considering appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee, and for the purpose of considering the purchase of property for public purposes or sale of property for competitive bidding, and to consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, regulations, or state statutes with possible action,
Yeah.
possible action to follow as authorized under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Gebhardt and a second by Board Member Bax. Any questions? Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries, and we are all done. Off to executive session.